Today on Sugar's Fun Run, I'll be showing you how to make garlic cheddar drop biscuits. Hey everyone, Sam here, and today I'm sharing a super easy drop biscuit recipe. Now, if you've made my rollout biscuits before, you know they have hundreds and hundreds of 5-star reviews, so I wanted to share a simpler version with a little bit more flavoring. That's where these drop biscuits come in. They're slightly modified from my original recipe. Now, to get started, you'll want to first preheat your oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. Next, you're going to want to go ahead and melt some butter. You'll need 1/4 cup or 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter. You'll want to melt this, and we're not going to use it just yet. We're going to set it aside and let it cool a bit before we use it. Next, you're going to need some flour. You will need 1 cup of all-purpose flour. Now, today's recipe is going to make about 7 biscuits, but it can easily be doubled to feed a crowd. My dad just made a steak dinner the other day, and I have a huge family, as a lot of you know, so I doubled it. It doubles perfectly. Now, along with the flour, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of granulated sugar, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and I like to use a heaping 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. Now, if you're in the Chesapeake Bay area, I highly recommend adding a sprinkling of Old Bay seasoning in with these garlic cheese biscuits. It's totally optional. You could alternatively use another crab seasoning if you have one. I make these all the time without it, but if you have it, it's a nice extra touch. We'll stir our dry ingredients together until everything is nicely combined. Now, the next ingredient that you are going to need is 1/2 cup of buttermilk. Here is where our melted butter comes in. By this point, it should have had a little bit of time to cool, so we're going to need a small whisk, and we're going to whisk this butter into the buttermilk. This biscuit recipe doesn't have a lot of wet ingredients, so this is just the best way to get our wet ingredients combined so that when we add them to our dry ingredients, we have a nice cohesive dough without overmixing anything. Now we'll pour our buttermilk mixture into our flour mixture, and we're going to use a spatula to stir everything together until it's just combined. I like to stop here when my wet and dry ingredients are about halfway combined, and to avoid overworking the dough, this is where I'll add my cheese. You'll need 1 cup of sharp cheddar cheese. Don't use the fine stuff, you want a thick cut, and you can shave it off a block or grate it off a block, or you can use a quality cheese. Now we'll finish stirring everything together, get that cheese worked in, and get this dough nice and cohesive. Now we'll scoop about 3 tablespoons of biscuit dough per biscuit and drop that onto a parchment paper lined baking sheet. The beauty of drop biscuits is they're pretty unfussy, but I do like to kind of use my fingers to get them in a nice round shape. It just ensures that they bake evenly. Now we'll bake these in our 450 degree Fahrenheit preheated oven in the center rack for about 10 minutes or until they're beginning to turn a light golden brown. Now, of course, we are going to be brushing these garlic cheese biscuits with some additional butter. So you're going to want to melt 2 tablespoons of salted butter. And to that, we are going to add an 1/8 teaspoon of garlic powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of dried parsley, and you'll just want to stir this together. You can use your spoon to just drizzle the butter over the biscuits, but I like to use a pastry brush. And within a couple minutes of them coming out of the oven, we'll just brush the butter over top each biscuit. And that is how easy it is to make these garlic cheese drop biscuits. Much easier than making my traditional biscuit recipe, but I think you're going to love it just as much, if not more. All right, if you try this recipe out, please leave me a comment and let me know what you think. I always love hearing from you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. That's really good.